Okay guys, welcome back to Gary's Economics. Today we are going to do a final channel update before I go on holiday. Okay, I'm talking to you today on the 25th of June. We won't put this video out till much later, in the middle of the start of a beautiful London heatwave. I am about to fly off to Japan in a few days to finally do this long cycle I've wanted to do for ages. So I thought it'd be a nice time to just look back a little bit on what has been a mad year for me and for the channel and for the world, and talk a little bit about what we've achieved and what we're going to do in the future. So the first thing to say is, of course, that this year has been basically just a massive year for growth on the channel. At the moment that I'm shooting this, we are about 275,000 subs on YouTube. A year ago, that was something like 80,000. We've had massive growth on Instagram, on TikTok. We've started to really cut through quite a lot, basically, and that's thanks to a lot of your support, sharing the videos, thanks to a lot of hard work from the team that we've put together, and yeah, it's something to be proud of. In terms of how we're affecting the conversation, you know, my aim with this channel has always been basically to build the bridge between inequality and the economy. I think that almost everybody agrees that high levels of inequality are a bad thing, but I think people have believed or been kind of fooled into believing for a long time that high levels of inequality are kind of a necessary sacrifice, kind of the price you pay for a good economy in a capitalist society. But those of you who know my history will know I made a lot of money basically betting that high inequality will destroy the economy in the long term. And what I really want to do is get people to see the things that are happening in the real economy, in their real lives, increased difficulty with buying houses, in many cases just paying the rent, buying food, and connect them with the really rapidly growing inequality we're seeing in society. I think that if we can get people to recognise that the reason that they or their kids or their grandkids are struggling economically is because of growing inequality, and that problem will get worse and worse, then we can start to take action on it. And we definitely have been making progress on that. This year, I brought in for the first time a couple of professionals, professional videographer, professional channel manager, to help me manage the growth of the channel during the book release. And in order to do that, we went and got some funding from like a big charitable foundation here in London. And they do a lot of work on inequality, that's why they funded us. And they've been sort of surveying people, and they've found there's been a massive increase in people who think that the reason the economy is bad is because of growing inequality, basically. And you know, when I heard that, I was really proud, because that's partly, I think, because of this channel, and I think that's partly because of the work that we do here. So we're getting out there, we're reaching people. We're still not reaching enough people. I think still most people in the country don't realise growing inequality is the reason for growing poverty, for growing difficulties in their lives. But we are making progress. I watch a lot of news in the morning because I want to see what people are being told, and I watch the most basic, commonplace news in the UK. I watch BBC News and Sky News. And I was watching BBC Radio 5 Live while I was eating breakfast the other day. And they were interviewing a Green candidate. We mentioned in another video that the Greens have basically adopted our policies of a wealth tax. And I was watching the interviews, and I know nobody was talking about wealth inequality, and it was kind of making me think, like, what more do we have to do to really get this issue really into the discussion so that mainstream politicians have to talk about it, so it has to be mentioned. And exactly when I was thinking that, I was eating my porridge, there was a caller, a lady called Helen from Burnley called in, and she basically said, you know, are you guys aware of how much money has been given out during COVID? The government deficit since COVID is £700 billion. And are you aware of where that money's ended up? Of whether it's ended up with the richest people, whether it's increased inequality? Because what I'm seeing is a massive increase in the wealth of billionaires and millionaires, and I don't think people are talking about it, people do anything about it. And it was immediately obvious because nobody else really talks about these issues, and because of the language he was using, that she got that information from this channel. And you know, I know that's a one-off incident, but it was quite emotional for me to see that we're starting to cut through, we're starting to affect the conversation. And I think that's something we can all be proud of. It's part of the conversation now. But at the same time, realistically, it's not a central enough part. I think we're starting to make cut through with people on the street, but we're seeing a lot of other problems coming in. The rhetoric that the problems are primarily caused by immigration is growing and growing and growing, partly because of the resurgence and the return of Nigel Farage. His voice is way, way, way louder than mine, and because this inequality problem is not being fixed, it is inevitable that the economic problems and the living standards problems will keep getting worse. And people will become very dissatisfied with the incoming Labour government, they'll become very dissatisfied with the status quo, they'll want change, and they'll be looking for an alternative. And at this point in time, when you look at the loudness of the problem is immigration versus the loudness of the problem is inequality, it's really hard to see them not winning. And I want to be really clear when I say this, you know, I'm not saying that immigration doesn't cause economic problems for certain groups of people, you know. In fact, I think it probably does. I think the problem you have here is that it is going to drown out this narrative. And if we don't win this narrative, then the economy will continue to collapse, basically. That's the problem on one side. On the other side, we have an incoming Labour government who are advised by a group of mainstream economists and journalists who are super, super resistant to taxation. There was a tweet by a guy, what was his name? Dan Needle recently, which said, if taxing wealth is so easy, why doesn't anybody do it? And he showed that, you know, across the world, wealth taxation is quite low. And I thought that was quite funny because, you know, what we have at the moment is a situation where basically across the Western world, living standards are falling. And it's pretty clear that what is being done across the Western world is a kind of a unanimous shared economic opinion being driven by these relatively well-paid economists. And it's not working. It's not working. And we need to do something different. But unfortunately, I think what we have is a lot of relatively well-paid economists and academics and politicians who have decent salaries and decent houses and mortgages to pay that just don't want to pay any more tax, basically. And even though I'm quite explicit, I'm not trying to tax them, I'm trying to tax the very rich. I think they're just very instinctively conservative, very instinctively protective. I continue to believe that we're not going to get change delivered to us from well-paid people, from the richest people in society. And, you know, I would like this well-paid middle class who are not this sort of asset super rich to support us, because I would like them to realise that if things keep going the way they're going, living standards will collapse. And we'll keep campaigning them, we'll keep lobbying the Labour Party, we'll keep trying to build support, but I really don't think we'll win unless we have ordinary people demanding it. So I'm going to keep doing it, and we're going to keep pushing it, and hopefully we'll make it. But for the moment, I'm going on holiday. For me personally, it's been an absolutely crazy year. I wrote a whole book, which came out in March, The Trading Game. I've talked about it a lot on the channel. It was a Sunday Times #1 bestseller for 2 weeks. It was in the top 10 for 8 or 9 weeks. I had press all over the world, loads of press in this country. It's blown up this channel massively. I've been getting recognised in the street a lot, in the gym, in Lidl, all over the place. And that's great. Like, it was always part of the plan to sort of use my face and use my name. But it's been a lot, basically. It's been a lot. I think people who only watch the videos probably don't realise that I'm also doing a ton of interviews for all different press all over the world and speaking to people about how we can sort of grow this movement, and also like thinking all the time about what are the ways that we can communicate to push this message out there. And you know, you write a book. I was published by Penguin. You know, you get a massive amount of support. Like I had basically a full-time publicist working with me. She was amazing, and she has to be like take a lot of the credit for the growth of this channel. But at the end of the day, she's trying to sell books. She's not trying to push a political message, you know. And I obviously say, you know, I want to try to push this political message. But I'm always thinking, how can we use this publicity and to help grow these ideas? And it's a lot of work, basically. It's been a lot of work creatively. I'm always thinking about new ways we can push things creatively. And it's just been hard, basically. It's exhausting. I'm not the kind of person who loves being recognised in the street. I don't want to tell people not to say hi to me in the street because everyone's really, really nice and I really appreciate everybody's support. But it's just weird. It's just I'm not used to it. I'm getting recognised like 7-8 times a day now, and it's just a bit scary. And you know, like weird things happen. Like Mail on Sunday did a massive like 2-page hit piece on me. I got friends from Citibank forwarding mails from like FT reporters asking if there's any dirt on Gary Stevenson, which is stressful and stuff you have to sort of, it's new for me, stuff you have to deal with. But really more than anything, it's just stressful sort of seeing how difficult it's going to be to win this fight. I think we've got a long way to go before we get accepted by these sort of well-paid, fancy, posh economists who don't like the idea of more taxes. We've had the big boost from the book now. I mean, I need to think about how can we keep growing it as well as how can we keep making content. And yeah, basically the last sort of month or two, I've been pretty exhausted. And I've decided to take a bit of time off, go back to Japan where I lived for 2 years, do this big cycle I want to do, just basically tear away and try and sort of refresh myself creatively. Which means that we're pre-recording loads. I don't think this will go out until maybe the end of July, maybe even into August. We're trying to pre-record loads so that we don't leave a big gap, but we might end up doing a gap. Depends sort of what I need personally. But I've been thinking about what we're going to do when we come back, how we're going to manage the channel. This year we managed to get, as I've said, a little bit of external funding on the channel, and that's basically paid the wages of my videographer, my manager. We've got another guy doing subtitling, and we had somebody help us like with just the branding of the channel a little bit. But it's tricky. External funding is tricky because we obviously had the election called early, and they didn't want me to do any political videos. So I basically just funded some videos myself, and also the funding will run out at some point, and we sort of have to decide what to do. At the moment, the channel is making just kind of roughly enough from YouTube revenue to pay for the staff that we've got. But I think going forward, if it's going to be really a thing, I'm probably going to need more support, a bit more creative support, a bit more help like structuring the videos, managing the YouTube. I look at how much we've grown because we've had a publicist from Penguin, and I do think if we had some like real PR support on the channel, it could be really bigger. So I've been thinking for a while about whether we should basically open up for donations so that we can hire more staff. And I think I'm going to do that. So what I'm planning at the moment is to start a not-for-profit company so that anyone who donates can know for sure that money's not going to me. And basically open a Patreon, see if we get some money in, and then maybe just build up a little pot of cash so that I can get the support that I need. I know there were people that say, well, you're a millionaire, Gary, you should fund it. But I'm a millionaire that spends most of my time working for free on a YouTube channel. So I don't really want to start funding it myself as well, because I'm already working for free. I've worked on it for free for a long time, and I don't think it's just going to work, basically. If we're going to have to make it as big as we need, we're going to need staff. And I think if we're going to really, really grow, we're going to need more people. And I'm not going to be able to keep funding it myself, basically. I have funded up till now. But if it's going to grow, we're going to need a bit more money. So I think I'm going to open a Patreon. And I'm not going to say to anybody, you need to donate, you need to donate. I'm going to open it, see what we get. And if we get enough money, we can hopefully use that to make a few more videos. Mix up a little bit the creative output, make some longer videos, get some stuff with animations in. But yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do, because it's just basically getting too big for me to manage it. I want to be able to like totally split the finances off really what I want to get is the finances separate so I can just focus on the creative side and not have to worry about having to fund it as well. So we'll do that. I'll try and get that sorted, hopefully before I'm back. But first and foremost, I'm going to take a little break, go and chill out, try and come back with some good creative stuff, because one video a week on top of all of these mental interviews is quite a lot, and sometimes I feel a little bit creatively burnt out. But yeah, I'm not going to stop. I think the way that this channel is going to go, I'm probably always going to have to take bits of time out to just escape the pressure and the constant creative churn, because it's hard to sort of do something good, new and creative once a week. But I'll keep doing it. I'll keep doing it at a pace that works for me. We're open for funding, but we won't paywall any of the content. We'll just see what we get, and whether that means we can grow more quickly and get more staff and get more support. If you do choose to donate, we'd really appreciate that. But for now, thank you very much for all of your support, whether that's in the last 2 or 3 months, or whether that's in the last 3 or 4 years. Thanks for supporting the channel. I really truly believe if we don't manage to get some action on this rapidly growing inequality, that it will have a devastating impact on ordinary people. But I think we can. I think we can do it. I think if you see the growth of this channel this year, it shows the demand is there. I'll do my best to try to get the strategy right. If we get a bit of funding, then I'll try and get some experts in who are not economists trying to run a YouTube channel on the side. But we'll keep growing. We're going to get opportunities here, and people are supporting it. And I'll keep fighting for it if you keep fighting for it, but maybe not for the next couple of months. Have a good summer, and good luck. Thank you.